Fall Out Boy, a band who became one of the biggest rock acts in the world during the 2000s, broke hearts when the band went on hiatus, and then reunited to fans rejoicing and then questioning what exactly Fall Out Boy's music was in the 2010s. From selling out arenas to writing impossibly long song titles, the big question that has been asked for years is Fall Out Boy overrated? When I originally put out the idea of doing a video series on overrated bands, Fall Out Boy kept coming up as a suggestion. Considering the longevity of the group, even with a breakup and long gap between albums, Fall Out Boy still remains one of the more popular names in rock, alternative, emo, pop, whatever you want to call Fall Out Boy. When the emo craze was blossoming, Patrick, Pete, Joe, and Andy became some of the poster children for the soundtrack to mainstream rock radio and MTV dramas. Even a 4-year breakup could not reduce the popularity of Fall Out Boy to the diehard fans who still sing about going down swinging. The hooks became more important than the songs, and the song titles became more important than the albums. It was an atypical band making it huge, which led to many people on the pro and con side of asking if this band is overrated. As of writing this, Fall Out Boy is about to release their 8th full album, So Much for Stardust, this week. Also as of this week, roughly 73.6% of Rock Channel viewers are not subscribed. It helps a ton to subscribe, folks. For the love of God, just hit the button. Brief history. Fall Out Boy formed in 2001 out of Chicago. After an appearance at DePaul University covering Black Sabbath songs, the group reorganized members led by Pete and Joe. The band came up with the name Fall Out Boy after the Simpsons sidekick, and a few years later came the band's major label debut, Take This to Your Grave. After being put on Warped Tour and featured on the cover of Alternative Press, the band kept blowing up until Fall Out Boy were strapped to a rocket with From Under the Cork Tree. 2005 was when Fall Out Boy became a huge deal. Billboard charting success, massive touring, TV and radio airplay, Fall Out Boy was not the next big thing, they were the big thing. Awards and continued airplay went through the 2000s with Infinity on High and Folie. For many people, especially fans, Fall Out Boy could do no wrong in that decade. At the end of 2009, the band was beyond burnt out with both personal issues and the grueling tours. A hiatus was called, and it was several years where the members didn't work with each other, and Wentz even went to hating Fall Out Boy being called emo. After a quiet few years, the band surged back to life like a mascara-wearing phoenix to save rock and roll. Things got a bit more controversial from this point on, however. 2013 Save Rock and Roll was not lauded as the comeback Fall Out Boy fans were hoping for, despite charting and sales success. Then came American Beauty and American Psycho with more of the same, followed by Mania in 2018, which was the jumping off point for many. I stand by that Mania is one of the worst albums to come out of 2018, and there hasn't been a new album for almost 5 years, now with So Much for Stardust finally dropping. Roughly the same amount of time that Fall Out Boy was on hiatus.
First off, we should probably thank Mike Shea and Alternative Press.
It's worth pointing out just how much impact on pop culture and overall influence Fall Out Boy has. I already talked about MTV shows, but it was much more than that. Fall Out Boy lyrics were becoming quotable lines in pop culture. Fall Out Boy were always kept in the public eye as well, with the many awards the group was given, from MTV, Kerrang, Alt Press, even the Teen Choice Awards made sure to acknowledge Fall Out Boy. They appealed to the youth and the college age from the mid-2000s all the way through the 2010s. It is clear that Fall Out Boy have had a significant impact on the music industry and have influenced many other artists in rock and pop punk. Also worth pointing out that even on hiatus, Fall Out Boy remained relevant, working through collaborations, and then would go on to work massive festivals and do headlining spots with bigger names. The group even started the Fall Out Boy Fund to support Chicago, while also supporting charities focused on issues like social justice and mental health. I think it's safe to say that most Fall Out Boy fans have their fondest memories from the 2000s era. This is where Fall Out Boy was heard by every type of music fan, whether they wanted to hear it or not, and to the group's credit, much of the music does hold up. Some fans and critics consider Fall Out Boy to be an influential and innovative band, while others argue that they are overrated and formulaic. The formulaic part, at least in the 2000s, I disagree with, especially as it got to Infinity on High and Folie. The group was going out in possibly overwritten songs, and fans ate it up. Singles and albums went platinum around the world, the guitar work, the driving drums, the gargantuan hooks and choruses. Fall Out Boy had it all down. The 2000s saw the birth of big emo bands, and Fall Out Boy were as big as any, alongside My Chemical Romance and Paramore. Take This to Your Grave and From Under the Cork Tree have elements of punk infused with their style, while Infinity on High definitely elevated things with creativity and variety. From a music perspective and a business perspective, this band did everything right all the way up until their hiatus at the end of the decade. When Fall Out Boy announced Say Rock and Roll, people were ecstatic. Then the album dropped and people were less enthusiastic overall. This was the dreaded pop-focused mainstream top 40 corporate Fall Out Boy that many of the haters claimed the band was previously. Oh, there were good moments and the big hooks and choruses were there, and in fact, that's all it was. Choruses, hooks, that's it. Keep in mind that in 2013, Fall Out Boy finally came out of hiatus to release their worst album to date. That's not the comeback a band dreams of. Oh, it was commercially successful and charted well and put the band back into the spotlight, but it definitely made a big divide for longtime fans.
Dance like
The attitude followed suit with American Beauty, American Psycho, with the ballad of Uma Thurman along with lifted riffs and more random movie tributes were thrown out in the music. It further cemented the idea that Fall Out Boy definitely were not emo, or at least not anymore, but rather a cross between arena pop rock and corporate-friendly commercial music. I say corporate-friendly commercial music, which is what Fall Out Boy had become, but that at least was still listenable. Then came Mania in 2018, and the only reactions that came out of that were anger from the longtime fans and laughter from everyone else. Along with a massive album delay, Mania was Fall Out Boy venturing into electronic and synth pop rock, and it was a mess. There's no nice way to say that either. Saying Mania had mixed reviews is being fairly polite. After Mania, Fall Out Boy's status was in doubt and the term overrated had a bit more validity. All the way up until present day, on the eve of So Much for Stardust. Fall Out Boy had a good bounce back with Green Day on the Hella Mega Tour and releasing a song during quarantine, but 2023 shined a massively bright light on the group with Love from the Other Side, and in my opinion, that's the best Fall Out Boy song in over a decade. New tour plans with Bring Me the Horizon coming, new album abandoning the electronic beat boot craze I hope, and a shred of hope for fans. I wanted to get this video out the week of Fall Out Boy's latest release to put in perspective what people think of Fall Out Boy and taking a career as a whole. The public results were interesting. According to the audience polls on the YouTube community page, with well over 5,000 people voting and 71% saying Fall Out Boy are overrated. That's a significant difference in the vote. Over on the internet's toilet Twitter, 59% of voters said that Fall Out Boy was overrated. On Instagram, 55% of voters had Fall Out Boy as overrated. And finally on TikTok, 69% of voters said Fall Out Boy are not overrated. Apparently TikTok had the only significant Fall Out Boy support left. Keep in mind that the YouTube poll had more votes than the other three combined. Also keep in mind that there are more trolls in YouTube community polls than we can keep count. So, is Fall Out Boy overrated? If you look at the 2000s era and isolated, I'd say Fall Out Boy are in no way overrated. They dominated that decade and did many things well and stood out with their artistic and musical talent. If you isolate the 2010s era, I'd say they are absolutely overrated. Fall Out Boy post-hiatus has been average to mediocre at best and flat out unlistenable at worst. Mania alone proves that. But I need to take everything in together. So with that overall view, I'd say Fall Out Boy are properly rated. Not overrated, but not without credit. Fall Out Boy is definitely where they should be in the public view as of March 2023. What will So Much for Stardust give us? What will future tours and collaborations have in store? I want to be cautiously optimistic, but I also don't want to get burned again like many other listeners have. Time will tell, and feel free to come back to this video and leave a comment saying what you think of Fall Out Boy after this, because the band is not going anywhere. And that was a look at Fall Out Boy and asking if the group is overrated. Do you think they're overrated? Leave a comment and let everyone know. Big thanks to my patrons, and special thanks to Chris Stoneman, Clark Walden, and Dom Noble. You can have a say in upcoming videos, get weekly new music playlists, and see videos early by supporting Rocked on Patreon and through YouTube memberships. Click the join button below or link in the video description to help the channel. Please subscribe and ring the bell to get notified of upcoming videos. It helps a ton, and you can keep up to date with Rocked on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Also, you can check out my last overrated video asking if Bad Omens are overrated. Let me know if you'd like to see another video like this in the future.